Hi, West Virginians. It's Tony Caridi inviting you to change your state with the Healthy Harrison podcast. All you have to do is give us a like on the Change Your State Facebook page and check out the podcast every Friday on the West Virginia News Network. Now, this month, the podcast is presented by Community Care of West Virginia, meeting the healthcare needs of Central West Virginia for over 40 years. Visit the site, ccwv.org, for more information.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Healthy Harrison podcast. I'm Amy Haberbosch-Wilson, president of the board of directors for Healthy Harrison, and we are sponsored by Community Care today. Our first guest is Paul Howe, who is the board member for the Clarksburg Water Board. Welcome.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great.
So let's just jump right in and talk about the Clarksburg Water Board, a little bit about who you are and what you do.
All right. Well, the Clarksburg Water Board was organized way back in 1887.
Oh, okay.
And they first provide fire protection to the city of Clarksburg. And then sometime in the late 1890s, they started delivering potable water to the residents of Clarksburg. So it's been around a long time. The water board's unique in that its directors are elected at large. I don't think there's another water utility company in the state that does that. But what that has done is provided leadership at the water utility to invest in water. You know, a lot of times small towns that run their own water and sewage, they'll take some revenue from that to operate in other areas. So we've done a really good job because that's all we do. And so it's a great organization to be with. I've been there since 2003, and we have professional staff. We just hired a new general manager 3 years ago, Jason Myers, who does a fantastic job for us. And so the water board's it's been a fixture here in Harrison County for a long time.
So what made you want to get on the water board, or what was the connection?
Well, I first got involved in the water board back in 2003. The water board was selling off Buffalo Lake. They had used that as a water impoundment for emergencies. And it ended up going to private developers. But that was always such a great asset for this county. At the time, our state legislators didn't want to take it, and the county commission didn't want to take it. So that was one of the things that got me involved early. I've always been an advocate for clean water. When I was younger, I used to sell bottled water when I lived out of state. So I knew a little bit about it, and I thought I'd be good service to our community. So I was elected in 2003, my first term.
It's a volunteer board?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, even when I'm in economic development, so I know when projects are coming in, companies, developers, prospects,
yes,
they just assume that you are Clarksburg. You are the city of Clarksburg.
Right.
And it is truly a separate board, separate entity.
Yes, separate by charter, absolutely. And that's been a benefit to this county. The FBI, when they started looking for property in north central West Virginia, they chose Harrison County, and big part of that was the Clarksburg Water Board being able to provide service directly to them and having the professional engineering and management that we had. There's a new gas-fired electric plant that's going to be coming into Harrison County, and that's another reason, because they can directly feed off of Clarksburg water, and so it's got a lot of benefits. It adds to the quality of life here.
What's your service area?
Generally, 90% of Harrison County we service, and that's through 14 public service districts and city and towns who we resell water to. We also sell water to Tri-County Public Service District, so our water actually reaches a little bit into Marion County and Taylor County. So we have a pretty big reach. We're manufacturing about 8 million gallons a day. Just here in the city of Clarksburg, we have a little over 2 days worth of storage in our multiple water tanks, which has come to light. It's really a good thing, because if there is ever an issue with the river, with pollutants or anything, we can actually stop the intake, and we still have 48 hours of potable water, fire suppression. Yeah, stored. Yeah.
So what are some of your greatest challenges?
Well, becoming more efficient, and I'm proud of the work we've done. We went about a 10-year span without having any rate increases, and that's just really through technologies. We have radio.
That's a big thing to be able to say.
Oh, yeah, it's great. And we've been able to take care of our employees at the same time. They've gotten raises and benefits during that same time period that we had no increases. Our meter reading system, we've gone to almost 100% automated, where before we had 3 or 4 people out in the field every day hand reading meters. Now we have technology where we have a laptop in the guy's truck, and they can drive down the streets and they're picking up these. So what used to take 4 weeks to read the whole system, we can read the whole system in about 3 days.
Wow.
So it's really, and through attrition, we've closed that department down to only like 2 people, but we've added more men and women down below in the distribution where they do the work out in the field where we really need the manpower.
How many employees do you have?
Right now we have, including the general manager, we have 38.
Okay.
And historically, we've been always above 40, so we're a little lean right now, but everything's going really well. So,
and I'm looking through my notes. So you personally have been one of the advocates for removing fluoride from the water. What's the logic behind some of that? If you could explain a little bit.
Yeah, well, like I told you, I'd sold bottled water years ago before I was on the water board, and I learned a lot about the chemistry, and there's a lot that goes into bottled water. A lot of people don't think about it, but the plastic is a big problem. And so if you're buying cheap bottled water, you might be ingesting that plastic. And that was one of the things that really enlightened me to a lot of things that can affect water. Years ago in college, I mean, fluoride is a disruptor. It's if you look at the element chart, it is found between arsenic and lead. It's a heavy metal. Fluoride is known, and the CDC says it's used best topically, not systemically. It means brushing your teeth with it is much more advantageous than drinking it. Just like suntan lotion, you put it on your skin. You don't eat it and hope it protects your skin.
Right.
And there's a lot of studies out there on the effects of fluoride that are negative. It could force calcium out of the bone structures and makes bones more brittle. And this is over years of consuming it. But there's a lot of studies out there. So I've been well read on the subject, and we've talked about it at the water board, and we've just never had a quorum where we agreed to take it out. But we've had good discussion, public discussion too. But I know there's been a landmark decision in federal courts where the EPA was sued, and they finally have come out to say yes, it's a problem in our water system. And the fluoride that is used in our water isn't the natural fluoride that you might find in the ground. It's generally a hexafluorosilicic acid, which is a byproduct of the phosphate industry. And fluoride it came from the Industrial Revolution in the early 20s and 30s, like lead, like cadmium, like asbestos. All the other stuff's been taken out of our lives, and fluoride is the last piece of that. It's a toxic chemical. These companies that produce it, as a byproduct, they just can't dump it in a river. They can't dump it on the ground. I mean, there's laws against that, but we're trickling into our water supply, and it's like a forever chemical. It's very hard to get out of your water. So anyone that has a water filtration system, generally most of them don't take fluoride out. You'd have to either reverse osmosis or even distill it to get it out of the water supply.
And that's nationwide. That's not just a local issue.
That's nationwide. There's no national mandate to fluoride water. There were some studies started in the 40s, and it's kind of shady how it went down. It was supposed to be a 4-year study, 2 cities in Canada and 2 cities out in the Midwest. I can't remember. You could look it up, but it's interesting. 6 months into the study, they just said, well, it looks like it's working, so they started promoting fluoridation. And really, I think it's a discredit to our dentists and their environment where they've really taught people how to brush their teeth. People a generation older than us, a lot of them didn't brush their teeth. They just didn't know.
Yeah.
And brush your teeth twice a day. I mean, especially before you go to bed, you want to have a clean mouth for 8 hours before you eat again. And that really dropped the dental caries. But at the same time, they were promoting fluoride. So, 70, 80 years later, they're trying to give all the accolades to fluoridated water. But reality, it's the education of taking care of your teeth.
And you all have become educators as well. So is information on the website?
We don't have any information on our website. There's a lot of the Fluoride Action Network has a host of studies, and it's out there. You can read a lot of stuff on there. It's been pretty interesting. I mean, I've learned a lot about it. There's a lot of chemicals we need to put in the water to make sure it's safe by the time it gets to you, but fluoride is not one of them.
Can you list some of the ones that are?
Well, like chlorine.
Okay.
And that's a double-edged sword. You don't want too much chlorine. You don't want high levels of total triethylamines, because they can cause cancer, and that's basically chlorine getting stale in your water supply. So these are projects we've worked on, like putting mixers in our water tanks so the water doesn't get stale. We don't have any dead ends in our water system. We've worked to loop them around so the water's always fresh moving through, because if you have dead ends and the people aren't using the water fast enough, the water degrades over time. We have the benefit that we're producing so much water and we're sending it out through the county that we don't really have much issue here. Some of our public service districts have to deal with that a little bit more. But, there's a whole host of chemicals we used at the beginning of the filtration process. There's a chemical they call Delpac. It basically brings all the sediment, the total dissolved solids, they coagulate, and then they'll settle down the bottom. So that gets a lot of the dissolved solids out of the water before we start the real mechanical and chemical filtration. We have a state-of-the-art plant. We give tours once in a while, so if you guys ever want to get a tour, it's a wonderful experience. I mean, it's for Harrison County to have this kind of water filtration plant. It was built in 1987, and it replaced the original plant that was constructed back in the late 1800s. And as a matter of fact, we still use the same water withdrawal out of the West Fork River. But that was after the 1985 flood, so we got a lot of federal dollars to rebuild that plant, and it's been a blessing.
Yeah, I'd love to tour that.
Yeah.
I know it's fascinating. I worked for the city of Shinston, and we went through a lot of the water treatment issues, and I learned more than what I thought I'd ever want to know about it, but it was very interesting. Even when you get into the operators, water treatment operators, and just the certifications that they have to have.
Yes, and just to let people know, the average age of water operators in our country is like 55. So there's going to be mass exodus in that industry. It's a great career for young people to get into. It's
which is a good plug for employees, because the whole state needs it.
The whole state does. In fact, our water board, Jason Myers, our manager, is working with our Harrison County School Board, and we've already started a program. We're going to do like a completers course and start bringing in high school kids to get trained while they're in school.
That's great.
Yeah. They may not get a job at the water board, but like you said, in Shinston, all these places have to have operators. And there's plants in Fairmont, Morgantown, and we're out of state, but it's just a great skill to have. It could be a great career for somebody.
True.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the lead issues? It's been in the newspaper.
Yeah, the lead is, in the late 1800s, lead was a product that they used. In fact, it was sold up until, I think, the early 80s for consumers to use. Lead solder. So lead's been in our lives for years. Since I've been on the water board, whenever we do main replacements or service lines, anytime our guys came across a lead line, they'd note it and they'd replace it. So half our system has probably been replaced already. About 3.5 years ago, due to a clerical error on one of the worksheets that one of our staff was filling out, raised a red flag. And it was a simple error. We have lead lines. We know that. We were replacing them. He checked the wrong box, said we have none. And that's what's cascaded and started this big issue about lead. We have 8,000 customers in our city limits. About 4,000 of them had lead lines. Out of those 4,000, less than 5% had anything approaching the lead issue. So really we were in good shape. But because we were out of compliance on that sheet, it really turned our world upside down. It was in July, before the 4th of July weekend, and we were getting orders from the EPA and the West Virginia Department of Health and Human Resources. All these things we had to do, and it's a vacation. People were out of town, but Jason Myers did a great job. We had almost everyone in our plant out in the public handing out water filtration as ordered by the EPA. Jason worked with the fire department. They helped us as well. And we even got the National Guard involved to help us a little bit. They brought bottled water in, which we were required, anyone that had a known lead line or unknown line, to have an alternative drinking source. We've been doing lead and copper testing for years. Matter of fact, my house is one of them. I have a lead line, and my numbers have always been 0. You can go up to 0.15. So what we found out through this process is we have good lead. Our lead isn't very Our water's not corrosive, so we're not having a problem with our lead service lines. We've done all kinds of testing, sequential testing, where you might start, for example, the test at the sink, and you'll have like 6 liters. And the engineers have figured out over a half-inch line how much a liter. So you can see the spike with maybe a lead, and then it comes back down. Well, by the time it's coming back down, you're drawing water from outside your house, maybe your service line or the system. So lead solder can be a problem in homes, even people's faucets. I think you can't buy them anymore, but probably up until the early 2000s, people could purchase faucets.
Just not that long ago.
Yeah, with lead in it. And, so the industry's changing and getting better, but there's still a lot of products out there that we shouldn't have in our homes.
So how does the average person, can they test themselves? I know we're signed up through the city to do the periodic testing.
Yeah.
Because they'll just do the spot testing.
That's right. Yep.
How does just the average person, if I just want to find out?
If anyone has a concern or just want to find out, if they call our office, they can come into our lab. We give them a sealed bottle, or we can come out.
You all will do it.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not something they need to purchase themselves.
No, we'll do it for free for all of our customers. We have a certified lab, but by the state of West Virginia, it's certified. And when this lead issue happened, we spent about $100,000 to get equipment to test specifically for lead and a lot of other chemicals to upgrade our lab. So we've been doing a lot of the in-house testing first before we send it out to an engineer, because you have to have it certified by an outside source. But the good thing is, Jason Myers has done a fabulous job. I mean, we're going to have an $80 million project, which is huge, but almost $40 million of that is going to be grant money. It's going to be free.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's so we're going to get a huge improvement to our county and to our resale customers, because we're replacing those lines as well.
And you already said half the lines are already replaced.
Yeah, but just through general maintenance
Right.
and emergencies, fixing them. We haven't found any lead lines on the customer side of the meter. If the customer has a ductile iron or a couple other materials, through this grant funding, we're going to offer them free replacement at no cost to them. They're going to be able to pick the contractor of their choice, as long as they're certified through the city business license. And so Jason Myers, our manager, has obtained grant money for our residents. So if you have an older home that has a galvanized line that needs replaced, the grant money will cover that for you.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really.
That was my next question. What's in the future? What are the plans for the board? But it sounds like these are major plans.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a big undertaking. It's one of the largest infrastructures ever in the state of West Virginia for utility. And Thrasher Engineering's on board with us, and we're going to do a lot of legwork ahead of time, communicating with the public, having neighborhood meetings, passing out maps, trying to give them a schedule of what roads we're going to be in first, because it is going to cause a little bit of headache. You may not be able to go home the same way you have for the last 20 years, but
well worth it.
Well worth it. We've been working with the city. They have a project uptown. They were doing new sidewalks. We have some lines up there we'd like to replace. The state is also doing a paving, so we've coordinated. Jason Myers coordinated with these agencies, and the city and the water board are going to get in before the state comes in to pave, which is going to be huge savings. We're going to pave miles of roads in the neighborhoods for the city, which is a benefit. So it's going to be a good partnership for everybody.
It's easy for people to complain they have an issue, but they really need to get more involved and understand what you all do and understand their own water system.
Yeah, it's it's really exciting, because we've won numerous awards over the years for water quality, but it's really going to improve the water quality, and it's also going to tighten up our water system. We carry between 10 and 15% water loss, which is good.
Really good numbers, yes.
Yeah, but really you'd like to have that a lot lower. And
can you explain that? Because I had to go through that process and understand what the water loss means. So how would you explain that to the average person?
If we produced 100,
because you're going to have a loss.
Oh yeah. Well, if we produce 100 gallons, we may be only able to bill for 85. So where did the other 15 gallons go? And that's about, that's a real generic summary. Mm-hmm. But we also take into account our firemen when they're on a hydrant. They have a general idea of time they were using that water, and our staff can deduct that and figure out, well, we've used so many thousands of gallons to fight this fire, and it's a pretty good number. We have a leak detection department that does great work. They use sonar. One guy works in the evenings or at night when there's less traffic, but he walks neighborhoods and where we have known problems to find leaks, and we're pretty active on getting on top of those. So it's a holistic approach. I mean, we're looking at it from billing, and we're the guys on the ground, people that call in. We appreciate when people call in and say, "Hey, I think you got a leak on McDowell Street or North 17th." I mean, it's important that we know because we want to fix it immediately. Water can do a lot of damage to your property too, and we want to fix it before it does that. So,
and are there ways that they can check themselves
for their water loss? Yeah, one of the biggest users of water in your house is your toilet. A lot of running toilets at night, and if you hear that, you're paying for water you're really not using. If you think you have a water leak but you're not sure, we can come out and help you. But if you look at your meter, if all your valves are shut in your house, you're not using water, that meter shouldn't be moving. And so if it's moving a little bit, maybe you have a drippy faucet, or maybe your hot water tank's leaking a little bit, but it shouldn't move at all when everything's shut off. So that's a way someone could look at it. If you think your bill's getting a little bit higher, you're probably developing a leak, likely a dripping faucet or something. But the more bathrooms you have in the house, the higher your water bill. It's amazing. You just use more water. So, but we'll come out and help you. If there's a issue, you can't figure it out, or you think your water bill's out of line, we'll work with our customers.
That's great.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that we haven't? We've covered a lot, but...
No, I just, our general manager, Jason Myers, has really improved this organization. He's been there about 3.5 years. He's great at getting grants. He came from the city of Parsons. He was their city manager for close to 20 years. And so he knows how to work within their budget and to try to get funds out there. Jason's got a lot of contacts in Charleston, but he's just done a lot of good things. He's really brought the professionalism in the office, and it really brought a lot out of the people that we already currently have, which I love because we got some really great people.
He's just an all-around great guy.
Yeah, and he cares. I mean, he
does.
puts in, he's probably the best administrator in the county. He puts in the hours like you wouldn't believe. He's there 8 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night sometimes. He's really nice to work with.
That's good.
So we got a lot of projects planned. We do a lot of capital improvements every year. We always budget for a little bit and then for emergencies. And but this lead line replacement project, it's going to be a 5-year project to get all 3 phases done. And that should really tighten up our system and keep our operating costs lower. So it's going to be a win for our community.
It's a very detailed board, so I appreciate you volunteering.
Yeah, it's I serve currently with Al Cox and Chad Sigmund, and there's only been about 6 of us on the board for the last 20 years. So it's been a pretty stable organization, and
you bring a lot of knowledge to it.
Yeah,
so it's
and I've learned
your
a lot.
average, show up to meet and you're done for the day. This is very detailed and a lot you have to tackle. Yeah,
it's been good. I've enjoyed my time there, and I don't know how much longer I'll be. Someone young needs to step in and do the work. But I've gained a lot from it. I've met a lot of people, and I've learned a lot. So I'm thankful for people electing me to that board.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Paul Howe, Clarksburg Water Board, and thank you for all of the information. And you have a website, and if not, they can go, if they're looking for more detailed information on their water or things that you can do to look for water leaks or interest in lead or fluoride.
Yes. Yeah, you can go to the Clarksburg Water Board website, and Jason's doing a really good job putting information out there, working. So more people use that. I think he has a Facebook page too. We post stuff on. So.
Oh, great. Yeah. So it's all out there. You just have to search for it.
That's right.
Well, thank you, Paul. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the podcast.
Hi, West Virginians. It's Tony Caridi inviting you to change your state with the Healthy Harrison podcast. All you have to do is give us a like on the Change Your State Facebook page and check out the podcast every Friday on the West Virginia News Network. Now, this month, the podcast is presented by Community Care of West Virginia, meeting the healthcare needs of Central West Virginia for over 40 years. Visit the site ccwv.org for more information.